What better way to celebrate the summer coming to an end than talking about a movie that takes place during winter and is all about snow and snowboarding and whatnot. Truthfully, it does make a lot more sense to talk about this movie during the winter time, and while in normal cases I would probably do that, I have a specific plan for what kind of content I want to end the year with, all tying into my next big sitcom retrospective, but more on that later, likely within the next couple of months. In the meantime, we will be talking about Cloud 9, baby. Shout out to this person that told me to review it last year. I hope you're still subscribed to my channel. Cloud 9 is one of the more popular Disney Channel original movies from the 2010s, being led by one of the faces of that era, Dove Cameron. And even a throwback, a Disney Channel star with Luke Benward, who you might recognize from Minutemen, though I believe around this time he was also in Good Luck Charlie. There are some other familiar faces in this film that we'll get to later, but again, Cloud 9 is a very common name that I've seen tossed around here and there when it comes to movies I should review on this channel. Lately I've been in my Disney bag, so I thought now would be the time to finally take a look at it to see if it still holds up after almost 12 years. Wow.
Tonight, 2 epic January premieres. First,
Nothing's impossible.
Dove Cameron from Liv and Maddie and Luke Benward star
You got it, Kayla.
in the premiere of the Disney Channel original movie Cloud 9. Then right after, Kicking It to Olivia Holt stars in the premiere of the newest Disney Channel comedy, I Didn't Do It.
Brilliant idea with this again! Roar!
5 best friends on the ride of their lives.
Group shot.
Tonight is epic. Starting at 8/7 Central on Disney Channel.
Cloud 9 premiered on Disney Channel on January 17th, 2014. It's funny, typically a Disney Channel original movie would have at least 2 leads from whatever sitcoms were airing around that time, but for this one, it's basically just Dove Cameron and then a bunch of people that were recurring or secondary characters on other shows. Luke Benward is an example of this, of course, but then there's also Kiersey Clemons, who had a recurring role in Austin and Ally, Carlin Jeffrey, who at this point was demoted as a series regular off of Ant Farm, Andrew Caldwell, who was a recurring character in Hannah Montana's second season. He was also in Nickelodeon's Shredder Man Rules, which is a crazy pull. I actually have that on DVD. Maybe review coming soon, we'll see. And then speaking of Nickelodeon, Dylan Lane from Bucket and Skinner is in this movie. Can't seem to escape this show, man. Go check out my video on it. Whoa, I just now found this out, but Ashley Tisdale was a producer on this movie. Does that say Shaun White? Was any of this in the opening credits of the movie? If so, I must have missed it. And then lastly, it is directed by Paul Hoen, who I mentioned in my last video is known for directing tons and tons of Disney Channel original movies, including this one. Dadnap was a bit of a letdown for me though, admittedly, so maybe this one would get a better reaction. Let's just find out. The movie centers around Kayla Morgan, a competitive snowboarder who plays for Team Swift, coached by a man named Sebastian. Also on the team is his son, Nick, who of course is Kayla's boyfriend. Nick is played by Mike Manning, who was like 30 when he filmed this, at Disney Wildland. Despite them being together for a bit now, Nick is still having a hard time winning the approval of Kaylee's dad, though Kaylee believes it has nothing to do with him, and more so just her dad being overprotective.
It's not you. You're the best boyfriend ever.
Oh, we gonna see. Luke Benward plays Will Cloud, which partially explains the title of the movie. We find out pretty quickly that this dude is like the snowboarding version of Derrick Rose, was once upon a time really good, but then wiped out one day, injuring himself really badly, though unlike D Rose, this incident left him mentally scarred, leading him to retire from the sport early. So he's more so like a mixture of Ben Simmons and Brandon Roy. Now he spends his time working at a dog kennel business owned by his presumably single mother, because this is a Disney Channel original movie and you need at least one. One thing he commonly does with the dogs is take them out for walks so they get to actually go outside instead of being cooped up all day like me making these videos. He mentions that had it not been for him doing this, the dogs would never get outside, thus making them feel depressed, like me when one of my videos doesn't do well. This sudden shift in hobbies has led to a mixed reaction from people. While there are people like Kayla who feel bad for him, there's also the Nick reaction who just makes jokes about him. Starting to see why her dad doesn't like him. And then there's the third reaction, as we see when Will's friends Dink and Sam pull up to try to convince him to hop on the board with them again. But he's very adamant of staying off it for the time being. Meanwhile, a party is being held by Team Swift to promote their upcoming run at winning the Fire and Ice competition. It's during this scene when we unravel one of the film's plot points, that being Nick's father not having that good old loving and supportive spirit that you would expect a father to have. Instead, he is very stern, constantly telling Nick that he isn't good enough and pushing him to improve. In a way, Nick isn't really his own person. It's his dad that's kind of pulling the strings and telling him what to do and how to do it, which is something that becomes actually extremely vital as the movie goes on. At the party, we get introduced to all the members of Team Swift, including Burke and Mike, the former of which is nicknamed the Human Cannonball. First, Dylan Lane is a surfboarder, now he's a snowboarder. He should have had a role in Zeke and Luther in order to complete the big three. Later after the party, Team Swift heads back out to the snow to mess around. While outside, Nick and Kayla discuss the upcoming Fire and Ice tournament and how cool it is that it'll be televised this time around. Because of this, Nick feels the need to show out, and so he manages that in order to really impress everyone, he's going to learn the Cloud 9, which is the trick that Will tried to do but ended up wiping out on. Kayla expresses her concerns to Nick, citing that considering Will is the only one that knows how to do it, it wouldn't be wise to attempt. This conversation is cut short though by the other two members of Team Swift who want to start messing around. They find Will's dog sled lying around in the snow and want to take turns riding it down the hill. Nick is able to convince a hesitant Kayla to do it with him, a decision that proved to be ill-advised.
Hold on tight.
A few moments later.
I'm sorry, Kayla.
This scene had me losing my mind when I first watched it, bruh. When he goes, "I'm sorry, Kayla," and then hops off, my jaw dropped, and I think I audibly said "what" out loud. Not because I thought anything crazy would happen, like either them like dying or something, but just because I couldn't believe that this dude actually did that. Though as inexcusable as this is, later in the movie it does kind of make a little more sense, but we'll get there when we get there. Nah, but I was genuinely shocked by this. I knew his character would end up being a jerk, but I wasn't expecting that. The rest of Team Swift managed to escape, leaving Kayla there to take all the blame. The resort security guard explains the situation to Kayla's parents and Will, who was called down once they identified that it was his sled. The guard says that he's willing to cover up the how and who of the situation, considering it's Kayla's dad who owns the resort, something that he accepts instantly. As punishment for this whole little fiasco, Mr. and Mrs. Morgan are making Kayla pay for the damages to his sled by forcing her to pick up a job at the dog kennel. Kayla's quick to scoff at this idea, citing that she doesn't have time for it. But Mr. Morgan says that unless she's willing to spill the beans on whoever else was involved, she has no choice but to do it anyway. Now that it's settled, they all go their separate ways. But before Will leaves, he and Kayla have a conversation that is the first to tease how Kayla really got that position on the snowboarding team. See, Kayla isn't actually that good of a snowboarder. I mean, she knows how to do it and isn't like horrible or anything, as we see earlier in the movie, but she's not really good enough to be considered a pro. Considering her dad owns the resort and funds the snowboarding team, Will believes that she's more or less a nepo baby. Ooh, Kayla, he called you Bronny James. You gonna take that? Later, Kayla talks to Nick and the other Swift members about everything that happened earlier, and Nick says that they were under the assumption that she was right behind them, which is why they left. Yeah, alright, pal. She explains the situation she's in now, and Nick says that if he could, he would totally switch positions with her in a heartbeat. And Kayla is only slightly less skeptical than I am about that statement, but decides to just end the conversation and go to sleep. The next day, Kayla pulls up to the dog kennel to begin her first shift, and Will immediately tries to get her acclimated to the dog since they're going to be spending so much time together. He then leaves to take one of the dogs out for a walk, which is when Kayla receives quite the upsetting voicemail.
Therefore, your blatant disregard of the rules forces my hand. I'm afraid as of now, you are no longer affiliated with Swift Snowboarding.
Immediately cutting her is crazy, bro. You could have at least sent her to the G League first. To get to the bottom of this, Kayla leaves the kennel to find Nick. She attempts to make him confess to his dad, or at the very least, admit that it was all of their faults. But Nick says that unfortunately, it is in fact her that needs to take the heat for this one, considering she's easily the most replaceable. See, the Fire and Ice tournament is a big deal, and you naturally need to send out your best players. Other teams competing will be doing the same thing, so realistically, considering Kayla was a nepo signing and isn't actually good, this is a great opportunity to find someone that, well, is. That's not all though. Nick is airing out the clip. He also mentions that the only reason why she's won as much as she has is because his dad made it so she was only going against girls that were comfortably worse than her. A request that came directly from Kayla's own father. So she decides to see if all this is true directly from the source. And sure enough, it is. Kayla says that she wishes this was brought to her attention earlier, because if she had known that she was a mid-snowboarder, she would have actually trained harder. As if her day couldn't get any worse, while left alone at the kennel, a little incident leads to all of the dogs escaping. So she quickly tries to run after them and round them all up. And of course, the dogs lead her right to Nick, who, instead of comforting her in a time of need like a good boyfriend is supposed to, breaks up with her. He says that he needs his space. Yeah, alright, pal. A dejected Kayla heads back to the kennel with all the dogs in hand. But once she steps foot into the building, she immediately starts letting it all out, talking about how she just had the worst day of her life. Will's mom goes to console her and even scolds Will for leaving her unattended without being trained. The funny thing is, Kayla is actually begging that everything that transpired will lead to her firing, but Will's mom instead reassures her that she's been forgiven and will in fact keep her job, something that does not make her happy.
So you're not gonna fire me? Oh, man!
Catch some air. The Disney Channel original movie Cloud 9 will be right back. Hit the slopes. The Disney Channel original movie Cloud 9 is back.
What's epic fail?
It's what they call Will's crash on the internet.
Really? In 2014? I don't think we were still using that phrase, but I could be wrong. So I forgot to mention this earlier, but Kayla has these two friends named Pia and Linz, the latter of which might be mute. They never really address it, but throughout the entire movie, she only really sends text. Never does she actually speak. I genuinely don't know if her character is mute or if it's just a funny little exaggerated nod to how teen girls text or not. Part of me feels like if she were mute, then she'd be signing, but at the same time, that's a little harder to get across to the children audience this was intended for, considering a wide portion of them would not know sign language. Yeah, I don't know. Just thought I'd get that out there. Let me know what y'all think. Later in the movie, Kayla expresses to Will how it's possible that the dogs would be less depressed if the kennel wasn't so, well, depressing, and suggests a makeover. This leads to a conversation centered around how all of this kind of ties back to Kayla valuing outward appearance over what actually matters inside, something that Will believes applies to her time as a snowboarder. So the two come up with a deal. If Kayla gives the kennel a makeover, Will has to help her convince people that there's more to her than meets the eye, something that can only be accomplished by training her to compete in the Fire and Ice tournament. And Will immediately turns her down, citing his previous injury as one of the reasons why.
I mean, you know that fall that you had was like a total freak accident, right?
Oh, so I'm a freak now.
That's literally not what that means, but okay. Kayla brings up a good point though. If Will gets back on his board, the chances of something like that happening again are pretty slim. In response, Will says that even if he agreed to coach her, she still wouldn't have a team, thus entering Sam and Dink, Will's old snowboarding partners. Even then, Will is pretty hesitant to accept her offer. It's not until Kayla notices that Team Swift has already replaced her with the lead young snowboarder Sky Sailor, where Will starts to take a little pity on her. Plus, considering Team Swift is also the same team that Will lost to last year, this could be the perfect time for both of them to have a little redemption. So, Will accepts Kayla's offer and agrees to coach her and her new team. After putting on a show, Sky introduces herself to Kayla, but she pretends to not know who she is so she can treat her just like any other fan, which is so disrespectful and petty. I kind of have to respect it.
To Kayla. Everybody's favorite daddy's girl.
Actually, why don't you make it out to Kayla, future winner of Fire and Ice?
Well, that doesn't have nearly as much of a ring to it. We get a training montage set to the official theme of the movie, which is appropriately called Cloud 9, performed by Dove Cameron and Luke Benward, who, fun fact, has a whole album? I was wondering at first, like, what does Luke Benward know about singing? And then I did some research and found this. Anyway, the song kind of stinks. Sorry for anyone that likes it. Liv and Maddie theme song clears. Beyond moving the snowboarding plot forward, this montage also mends Will and Kayla's relationship as they start to treat each other more kindly. We also see that Kayla has held up her end of the bargain, giving the kennel a complete makeover.
This must have cost a fortune. Not for Kayla.
Yeah, she's rich.
She's a bargain hunting machine.
And she's rich. Noticing the building chemistry between the two, Will's mom gives them the rest of the day off. They use this time to go get some ice cream, and while talking outside the shop, they get on the topic of Will actually joining the team instead of just coaching it. After all, doing so would truly improve their odds in winning it all. He doesn't outwardly say no, but he's definitely not too keen on the idea either. So Kayla says to give it some time to mull it over. Both of them end up going home and doing the same thing, watching footage of Will's attempt at the Cloud9. While Will can't bring himself to finish the video, Kayla ends up watching more of it. I know it's a movie and all, but going to sleep with a full face of makeup is insane. The pillowcase is gonna look like a used makeup wipe. No, wait, it gets even worse when the next morning comes around, because look how she wakes up. This bothers me so much more than it should. No one wakes up like this, bruh. Not even Dove Cameron. Not a single drop or mark of makeup on that pillow. Come on, man. Things take a bit of a turn though when Kayla overhears her parents talking about her competing in the Fire and Ice tournament.
Well, I hate to see her try so hard only to fail.
Whoa, that's insane. You ain't gotta say all that, bruh. Chill. Back-to-back horrible fathers in a Disney movie I reviewed, bruh. That's crazy.
Against the Swift team? Honey, that's impossible.
Oh my god. Impossible is nuts. He could have at least just said not all that likely or something. He wildin'. Kayla goes to Will and demands that she teaches him the Cloud9 so she can shut everyone up, but Will, rightfully so, has no interest in helping her do that. Kayla continues her persistence by mentioning that her landing the Cloud9 could be redeeming for both of them. But again, Will tells her that she just isn't ready. To prove that she's more than capable of at least attempting the Cloud9, she decides to do something considerably more dangerous. See, earlier in the movie, Will was telling Kayla about this crazy mountain that no one's been able to successfully ride down, called Tyson's Peak. So to show everyone that she's no longer just style over substance, she decides to try it herself, with the whole thing being televised. As she looks down, preparing herself for the potentially disastrous stunt that lies ahead, there's seemingly only one thing on her mind: fearlessness. Before leaning forward, she says out loud the movie's motto, which is that nothing is impossible. She's trying to be Kevin Garnett so bad. With everyone watching her up on that mountain, Kayla drops in to start her ride. Things are actually going surprisingly well for her, though I shouldn't really be that surprised considering she's the main character of a Disney Channel original movie. But of course, we can't have everything play out too well. Oh no, it's like the opening scene from Ice Age. This little mishap leads to an avalanche forming behind Kayla, so Will grabs the snowmobile and makes its way over to her. Gotta say, I like how this whole sequence was shot. For a Disney Channel original movie, this is pretty good stuff. Even the shots that are obviously completely VFX still manage to look kind of cool, and although obviously not real, don't really take me out of the movie. Will, with the help of his dog, manages to locate Kayla, who once being found, has a big goofy grin on her face, and once again says the line, "Nothing is impossible." Alright, don't get too cocky now, you still wiped out. Everyone, even Team Swift, are very much so impressed by Kayla's bravery. You know what really stinks though? It was a bit of a wasted opportunity to not have Kayla run home to her parents, specifically her dad, and just rub it in his face. Like just straight up acting a fool in front of her father just to say I told you so. Like granted, she still didn't win anything, but this scene alone went a long way to show not just him, but everyone who doubted her that she's in it to win it. I do really wish we could have gotten a scene directly after this one where her dad at the very least just kind of gives her the Derek Jeter commercial hats off type of thing, you know? Only reason why I think the writers chose not to do that was because they probably felt it would have been a bit redundant considering, spoiler alert, a scene like that happens before Kayla's big final run, and they wanted that to be all emotional and stuff, which is fair, I guess. I just would have really loved to see Kayla be just a little petty, you know, a little. While chilling in the pool with Will after her stunt, wait, hold on. As I'm editing this, I just realized the editing in this scene is like horrible. You see Will's mom is walking with the towels, and then like a whole minute passes by, and then she enters the room with the towels. How long did it take from her to get from like here to here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Someone in the editor's room, I don't know. Kayla manages to convince him to at least tell her more about the Cloud9.
That's 3 rotations. That sounds impossible.
Yeah, but I thought nothing was impossible, huh? That's what you keep telling me. The next day, Kayla delivers the exciting news. Will has agreed to join their team as a competitor. To prove he still got it, he heads back out on the snow for the first time in a year to shred it up. He starts off pretty strong, but eventually shows off his rustiness. Will reveal that although he truly did wipe out, he's okay. And Kayla starts to get mad at him for playing that joke on her. The next day at school, Kayla sees Nick, and not only his new partner, but also his new partner, Sky Sailor.
Winners should be with winners.
Shut up, Iris. She played Iris West in the Snyder Cut. And the Flash movie, I guess. Feeling the need to one-up both of them, Kayla tricks Will into holding hands with her in the hallway. And once Will figures out what's really happening, he's not all that thrilled. This picks back up a few minutes later after a training montage where Kayla just isn't getting the Cloud9. And that's when Will questions if she's really in this to win it or just to get Nick back. So he cancels all of her lessons and says that she's just quite simply not ready. As he walks away though, Kayla says that she needs to stop wasting her time with guys that don't believe in her. But then Kayla then says that she is 100% committed to winning this, and she doesn't care about who thinks that she can't. The next day, right before the competition kicks off, Will's mom reveals the new uniforms that are sponsored by Hot Doggers.
Okay, Donald, up. Woo! All right.
Hold on, bro. I'm struggling to believe that was a real dog noise. That sounded like Blue's Clues. Get out of here. The competition commences as Will Cloud takes a nice little lead over Nick Swift in the first round. But once the second round starts, Nick has a much more polished and trick-filled run, which gives him the lead over Will. He thinking, how come you don't want me, man? Alright, it's the girls' turn now, and Kayla starts her run, firing on all cylinders. Did they put a camera on the board, bruh? That's sick. She has a really good run at getting rave reviews from the judges, but now it's time to see if Sky can win them back. Keep in mind, she's never lost before, but it appears her streak is on the verge of breaking because her ratings weren't nearly as good as Kayla's. In her next run, Sky definitely steps things up, doing a bunch of moves that I've never heard of because I don't snowboard. I did, however, used to play uphill rush as a kid, if anyone remembers that. Her ratings this time were considerably better than before, meaning Kayla now has a lot of catching up to do in order to get back into the top spot. Naturally, this starts to add some pressure to her, so she takes a minute to distance herself from everyone and spend some time alone. Remember that scene I was talking about earlier though, regarding Kayla's dad and him admitting he was wrong to her or whatever? Yeah, that happens here. He apologizes and says that for the first time, he doesn't see her as just his little girl. He realizes that she really has grown up, and it's taken some time for him to adjust to that. Seeing this makes Nick snap at his father for not giving him any sort of comfort or praise.
You know I don't see any point in excessive praise, all right?
How about any praise? Anything!
Anything! Tired of being his dad's puppet, he decides to let everyone know what really happened the night Kayla got kicked off the team. You see, everything involving the sled and the sign and her getting in trouble was actually organized by Nick. But not because he had anything truly personal against her, but because his dad wanted him to find a way to get Kayla off the team. Which is almost criminal, because she could have genuinely gotten really hurt. Like, seriously. I'm talking Sam Jackson and Unbreakable type of hurt. I gotta watch that movie again. Feeling more determined than ever, Kayla readies herself for her final run. And boy, does she waste no time. As expected, she starts putting on quite the epic performance. And although everyone is really impressed right now, she needs to do something truly special to get back into the top spot. And fortunately for her, she does.
1, 2, 3.
Well, I'll be John Brown. She did it. She actually did it. I mean, yeah, the movie is literally called Cloud9, so we should have seen this coming. But I'm not gonna lie, I actually still felt pretty happy for her. And I'm not the only one. As she receives her perfect 10 from everyone. Man, he ain't showing any emotion. This must have been his 10th hour on the clock or something. As she receives her perfect 10s from everyone, Kayla is greeted by her friends and family as they celebrate her sky-high victory. That's another movie I gotta watch soon. Okay, so Cloud9 was kind of fire. I'm gonna be real with you. I was not expecting to enjoy this movie as much as I did, but this is the first movie I've reviewed on this channel since like Lemonade Mouth that I would genuinely consider to be good. Like, I liked Aliens the Attic. I liked Rags, kinda. But for the kind of movie that this is actually pretty solid. So much so to the point where I want to start with the bad stuff first, because there's a lot more things going for this movie than against it. Right off the bat, while I do love the final scene of the movie, albeit cliche, I do think this movie would have benefited from a final maybe 2 or 3 minutes where they tie up a couple of the loose ends of the movie. For instance, this dude had to have lost his team, right? Like, there's no way he's still the coach or owner, whatever, of this team. There just isn't. This dude was pure evil, bruh. I needed a scene where he gets his team taken away from him, and then like Nick and his buddies either form their own team or join Kayla's. Though the latter probably wouldn't work well. Nick kind of deserves to get suspended too, honestly. I also would have loved if Kayla and Sky shared one last scene together. And the only reason why I say this is because throughout the movie, Sky started to gain more and more respect for Kayla, to the point where she even defended her once when talking to Sebastian. They could have at least like dapped up or something, I don't know. Do girls dap up? There's also other Disney Channelisms in this that I've learned in my 3 years of uploading on this channel that I kind of just have to let slide. The goal with these movies isn't to be realistic, it's to hammer a point home to the children audience. So sometimes characters do things or storylines have something in them that don't make any sense. And although it does get to a point where it becomes ridiculous, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad writing. Kids movies oftentimes have to exaggerate things in order to offer up that spectacle aspect that is supposed to wow kids and keep them entertained. I mentioned this in my... Oh wait, I can't announce the video yet. But yeah, kids are just a little dumb, and they are not going to question logic in movies like this. So the main goal for the writers of these movies is to sometimes do ridiculous stuff in order for the theme of the story to stick in kids' heads, with this movie's theme being that nothing is impossible. For a kids movie to get that point across, you do have to put in a couple things that seem kind of impossible. Some of it worked, some of it was a little but nothing happened that really took me out of the movie. And yeah, the movie is cliche, but what Disney Channel original movie isn't? I don't mind a cliche movie. After all, F1 this year was very cliche, but it was still good. I think most of the things present in Cloud 9 work. The main story of two teens that need to overcome doubt, both originating from within and from others, but for two very different reasons and still managing to help each other out equally, is something that, although it isn't groundbreaking, I think is still pretty new to Disney Channel original movies. I can't recall another movie that's had that plot before, so because of that, I was really interested to see how things would progress, even if I had a pretty good idea. And the reason why I was interested is because these two characters are genuinely likable. Like, obviously Kayla did not start out that way, but once she got humbled, I really started to like her. And then Will was just likable off rip. I have reviewed 3 Luke Benward movies on this channel, and I've had praise for him in each and every one of them. Once again, he was great in this movie. Wait a minute, he pulled Ariel Winter? Never mind, I take that back. Now I hate him. Jokes aside, both he and Dove were great in this movie. I cared about the trajectory and growth of both of their characters. Sam and Dink were alright too. Nick was kind of a loser, but he could have been worse. Kayla's friends were even kind of cool too. Kayla's mom was great. But I think also what makes this movie work is that Disney clearly put some money into it. I haven't been this impressed with the Disney Channel movies production since Teen Beach Movie, which ironically also had to do with a board sport. I watched this Disney Channel promo where they kind of went into the production of the movie, and the actors did actually have to learn how to snowboard, but obviously only to a certain extent. The sets were really cool too, and then of course the snowboarding scenes looked really nice as well. Lastly, this movie was just a pleasant watch, man. There really weren't any cringe or awkward moments like some movies, and because of that and all the other things I mentioned earlier, I found this to be pretty solid. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I was shocked. I want to know what you think about the movie though. Let me know in the comments below. Check out my Patreon if you want to see content earlier than everyone else. Also subscribe to my second channel, simply titled Stalgia, for more of me. If you're new, feel free to subscribe and hit that like button. And like always, I am Mr. Nostalgia, and I'm out for now.